Hey guys, welcome to the Prosta English podcast. At first, I created this podcast to help English learners improve their listening skills and grow their vocabulary. But from the messages I get from you on different social media platforms, I see that this project does even more. It helps you fall in love with English, makes you think about important topics, inspires you to try new things, and even lifts your mood. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing community of English learners. And thank you for your kind and heartwarming messages. They show me that what I do is really important and meaningful. As you know, for my episodes, I usually choose topics that interest me or things that are happening in my life. In this episode, it's the second case. Today, I'd love to tell you a story about how I recently surprised my parents. Those of you who follow me on Instagram or Telegram probably already know what it is about, but I promise it will still be interesting to hear my thoughts and feelings. So let's get started. When I was in Belarus in August, my mom invited me to join them on a trip to Turkey in September. She was like, "Come with us, we will have a great time." But I said no and didn't agree to go because I knew that the beginning of September would be a busy time for me. I would be launching the fall courses and I would have a lot of tasks on my plate. But then on the 3rd of September at about 8 a.m., I got a call. My parents and my brother called me from Turkey. They were sitting outside in swimsuits after a morning swim. The sky was deep blue, the sun was shining, and they looked so relaxed. They told me how much fun they were having and invited me again to come over. My mom said 1,000 times, "Please come, it will be wonderful." And after this, I even got angry. I told her in a sharp voice, "I've told you a million times I can't come. I have so much work." And then I hung up the phone and started crying. Why? Why am I here in Poland while my family is all together there? Why did I create a job that doesn't give me the freedom to do what I want? But one moment later, I thought, wait, I work for myself. I'm my own boss. I can decide where and when to work. And if I really want to go to Turkey, I can go. I can work at night. I can work when everyone else is sleeping. I can sleep only 4 hours a day if I have to, just to be with my family and spend time with them. And then I thought, okay, but how can I get there? How can I find the hotel where they are staying? I was afraid it wouldn't work out, so I didn't text my parents right away. Instead, I wrote to my mom's friend and asked which hotel they had chosen because my parents picked the same hotel that my mom's friend had visited just 1 month earlier. And when she told me the name of the hotel, I tried to book a room online, but I checked more than 10 websites and everywhere it said fully booked for the next 2 weeks. Oh no, I thought maybe it's not possible. But guys, it's unbelievable how our brain starts to work in critical situations. Suddenly, I remembered that I know a woman. She's a travel agent from Belarus, but now she lives and works in Poland. I wrote to her hoping that she could somehow book a room for me. But unfortunately, she answered me right away saying the same thing. No, until the 19th of September, there are no rooms. I thought, okay, then I will not go. This idea, anyway, was too spontaneous and too unrealistic. I should have definitely planned it earlier. But then she sent me another message. Your parents can go to the reception and ask if it's possible to put an extra bed in their room. If yes, I can book you plane tickets. You can't imagine how excited I felt at that moment. My hands were literally shaking and my heart was beating like crazy. I sent a message to my brother, like, get away from mom and dad. I need to talk to you urgently. He called me, I explained everything, and he said, of course, I will go to the reception right away and ask. And just 5 minutes later, he texted me back saying, you can come. I arranged it. They will put another bed in our room. Oh my God. I was like, yay, I'm going to Turkey. I texted the travel agent and she booked me tickets for the next day. Yeah, the next day. It was the fastest I had ever prepared for a trip in my life. I had only one day to settle everything, to ask my teachers to replace me in some classes, to send messages in all the chats, to cancel a few lessons, to prepare some content for social media for the first couple of days, and of course, to pack my luggage. But honestly, packing was the last thing I worried about. So, I landed in Turkey at Antalya Airport. It took me about 1 hour to get to the hotel by taxi. To be honest, I was a bit stressed to take a taxi alone at night in Turkey, but I had no other option. When I arrived at the hotel, my brother met me right away with a glass of beer saying, welcome drink. And from that moment, I knew it was going to be fun. It took me some time to get registered, and the whole time I was worried that my parents would fall asleep. I really wanted to record a video of their reaction because I knew it would be priceless. Finally, we went upstairs, knocked on the door, and my dad opened it. For the first 15 seconds, he just stood there with a poker face, showing no emotions at all. I started laughing so hard. At that moment, my mom was sitting on the bed and didn't see me. Later, she told me that when she heard my laugh, she recognized it immediately, but she thought that she was just going crazy. Then I walked past my dad, who was still standing with a poker face, and I saw my mom. She, like a typical woman, immediately started smiling and saying, oh my God, my child, my daughter, I can't believe you're here. What a surprise. So it was literally the sweetest and the most emotional moment of all. By that time, my dad finally realized what had happened and he said, let's take a selfie. For context, my dad hates taking pictures. And every time I ask him, let's take a photo together, he complains, oh no, not again. I don't want to do it without me. But this time, he offered it himself. That means he was really shocked. And the next 7 days felt like paradise, and they brought me back to my childhood and teenage years. When I was a child, my parents and I sometimes traveled to all inclusive hotels in Turkey. Somehow, my parents really believed that this was the best kind of vacation for them. And actually, there were a few reasons for that. First, they didn't speak English. If they traveled somewhere in Europe, it would be difficult for them to communicate and explain what they wanted. In Turkey, many people speak Russian, so it was much easier. Second, my parents were not good at using the computer or searching for things online. Instead of booking flights and hotels for themselves, They went to travel agencies and asked them to plan everything. And third, both of my parents worked a lot. They have their own business, and my mom always says that they didn't create a business, but they created a workplace for themselves. They worked every day except weekends, and they couldn't leave their business without control for too long. And because they worked so hard during the year, on vacation, they were not interested in exploring new places. They preferred relaxing on the beach, sunbathing, and swimming in the sea. And also, when you travel by yourself and, for example, rent an apartment, you need to buy food, cook, or search for places to eat. But in all inclusive hotels, you can eat all day and night without worrying about cooking or washing dishes. So, as you see, for my family, this type of vacation had many advantages. But when I grew up, entered university, and started traveling on my own, of course, I didn't choose this kind of rest anymore. Because my main goal while traveling is to see new places, explore different parts of the world, try local food, and communicate with local people. And with this typical hotel vacation in Turkey, that's not really possible. Before this trip, I hadn't had this kind of vacation for more than 11 years. But I can say that I've changed my mind and it was really amazing. This summer, I worked a lot. A couple of times a week, I had more than 7 classes a day. And to be honest, it was really exhausting. Besides classes, I also have many other responsibilities. By the time I went to Turkey, I was completely out of energy. But there, I was able to recharge my batteries thanks to all the activities we had. Let me explain how our days looked, and you will see that it was definitely not a passive kind of rest. So, my dad usually woke us up at 6:30 a.m. Guess why? Of course, in the best Turkish traditions, to book sunbeds. We were 4 people and we wanted to have places next to each other. But the hotel was rather small and there weren't many sunbaths on the beach. If we came later, for example, after 9 a.m., there were no spots left. At first, I laughed at this, to be honest, but later I understood that it actually made sense. After that, we went to have breakfast. I really loved the food at this hotel. It was fresh and tasty. For breakfast, I usually had an omelette with cheese and mushrooms, plus some vegetables, or Belgian waffles with white chocolate and nuts. Oh my God, I never eat waffles in Poland, so I was really enjoying this chance. After breakfast, we went swimming in the sea. Living in Gdańsk, I had already forgotten that it's possible to just walk into the water without thinking too much. In the Baltic Sea, the water is unbelievably cold. You decide for 15 minutes whether to go in or not, and then you swim for only 2 or 5 minutes. But in Turkey, it was wonderful. We could stay in the water for more than 30 minutes. And then we lay down on the sunbeds for about half an hour. My parents read books and I worked on my phone. Luckily, the hotel had good internet everywhere, so I could use any free minute to work remotely. At 10:15, the morning gym started. My mom and I went there every day. Yeah, it was light and very easy, but anyway, it helped us wake up and stretch our bodies. After that, we had some more time to swim, and at 11:30, the aqua gym started. It was in the pool, and it was such a funny and energetic activity, and we simply couldn't miss it. At midday, we usually went back to our room. First, because the sun at that time was too strong and unhealthy. And second, because it was really hard to breathe in the heat. So we took a shower and sometimes had lunch. Not always, because my parents are used to eating only twice a day, in the morning and in the evening. And if they eat lunch, they feel too full and have less energy. Sometimes we slept until 3 p.m., but usually I was working while my parents were watching TV. After 4 p.m., we went to the seaside again, but at 5 p.m., salsa classes started, and my brother and I joined them a couple of times. I was really shocked that he agreed to dance in pairs with me, but he seemed really interested and even enjoyed it. After that, we went swimming with our parents. Well, not exactly swimming. Most of the time, we were just standing in the water and talking. But I really loved this part because during those days, we spent hours chatting. Since we live in different countries now, we usually only communicate on the phone. And even then, everyone has their own commitments and responsibilities, so our time together is limited. But in Turkey, we had nothing else to do except talk. My dad told me millions of stories from his childhood and youth that I had never heard before. In the evening, we got dressed and went to dinner. I noticed that not all people in Turkey dress up for dinner, but in my family, it's like a little tradition. During the day, you look messy in a wet swimsuit with salty hair and sand on your body. But in the evening, we like to look nice, not to show off, but just for ourselves to feel good. Twice before dinner, on the first and the last day, I even convinced my dad to take family photos together. And this time, he didn't resist. In fact, he even suggested some great spots for pictures that I hadn't noticed. So I can say for sure that he was over the moon that we were all together again just like 11 years ago. After dinner, we usually watched shows at the hotel, and later there was music and a party. I danced almost every evening. Normally in Poland, I did not go to clubs because I do not like being around drunk people or people who smoke. But in Turkey, I really wanted to dance. First, because everything was outdoors. Second, the DJ played popular songs with lyrics. It's important for me. I really do not like house or techno or something like that. And third, it was a hotel, so I felt safe. In clubs, there are often random people trying to get to know you or dance with you, and I did not enjoy that. But there, everyone was nice and respectful, so I could completely relax. Honestly, it feels like I danced for 3 years in advance. From my experience, I can say that yes, traveling is possible if you do not know English like my parents. But one of the things I enjoy the most while traveling is meeting people from different countries and talking to them. And without English, it would be impossible. Of course, now we have Google Translate or ChatGPT and some other tools. They are useful in urgent or important situations. But real communication and lively conversations are only possible when you speak with people directly, looking into their eyes, not at a screen. During this trip, my brother and I met some guys at the hotel from Tunisia and Algeria. They told us a lot about their culture, traditions, and jobs. And when we traveled by boat one day, we also met a couple from Kosovo. We shared stories about life in Belarus, discussed politics, and even talked about the situation in the world. So, when you know English, you can connect with people with their stories and emotions. You can always find help without depending on the internet connection or your phone battery. When you know English, you feel free and safe anywhere in the world. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me today and for listening to this emotional and unexpected story from my life. If you have any thoughts or feelings to share about this episode or the podcast in general, feel free to send me a message on any social media. If you use Instagram, you can also tag me in your stories. This way, you will share the podcast with your friends who might also want to boost their English. For now, I wish you a wonderful day or night, depending on when you're listening. And I'm sending you the warmest hugs and greetings from Poland. I'll talk to you next time. See you.